Whoa. Bit of a flashback. Ooh. Place is a bit of a dump. Is this Meteor City? Oh, it was, wasn't it? Am I looking at something here? Whoa, that's a great opening. Ooh, ooh. Oh.
よかったね。雲が死んで、これでやっと一番したかったことに集中できるね。早く見つけてあげなきゃ。仲間たちの目。
Look at this.
お前が先に
Look at this. Take it in, Kurapika. There it is. This should, yeah.
久々に全員集合だね。
なんか威圧感つうか迫力みたいなもんが出た気がするな。
そうか。君は大した変化もなさそうだな。
ムカつくとも増したな。おい、旅団の一人を倒したらしいな。
Let's talk about it upstairs.
お前は一体どうやって？
俺たちだって念を極めたいと思ってる。これから先も念能力は絶対に必要になると思うから。
ならなおさらやめておけ。私の話は参考にはならない。
Yeah, his is really
私
specific.
の能力は旅団以外のものに使えない。
But tell him about the concept of that
制
though.
約と制約。
念は精神が大きく影響する能力。覚悟の量が力を上げる。しかし、それは同時に高いリスクを伴う。私は念能力の大半を雲打倒のために使うことを誓った。そのためにルールも決めた。
Tell him the rule.
そのルールってのは？
雲でないものを念の鎖で攻撃した場合、私は命を落とす。これが私のルールと覚悟。制約と制約だ。
The mood just took a
私
turn.
の能力は憎悪が生んだ恨みの産物。お前たちだから話した。他言はしないでくれ。
なんで話したんだ。そんな大事なことを。
俺たちが黙ってりゃいいだろう。
まずいんだ。奴らの生き残りに記憶を読む女の能力者がいる。もしあいつにこのことがバレたらクラピカに勝ち目はなくなる。
あの時はバレなかったよ。
俺たちも奴らが探している鎖野郎がクラピカだと知らなかったからな。
Don't run into Pakunara.
こっちからそいつに近
In
づ
that
かなきゃ
capacity.
安全だろう。なら大丈夫だろう。その記憶を探るってやつの周りにクラピカのことを知ってるやつさえいなけりゃバレない。
私がヒソカとコンタクトを取っている。
But she did see his
ひそかと。
Kurapika at the auction.
奴は私が鎖野郎だと知っている。一応協定は結んでいたが、奴の狙いだった雲の頭が死んだ今、どんな行動に出るかはわからない。
He's not the type.
引き上げるってのはよ。
言葉の通りだ。今夜ここを立つ。今夜でお宝は全部いただける。それで終わりだ。
まだだろう。
他に何がある？
鎖野郎を探し出す。
こだわるな。
ああ、こだわるね。このままウボウの仇も取らず。
Oh, this should be interesting. Conflict.
鎖野郎と一緒にあの世へ行かせねえとウボウが退屈するだろうが。いい加減にしねえか、信長。だが、それは本当に団長としての命令か。クロロよ。信長、それは。うせえ！俺はクロロに聞いている。
No, I like this. I like this. And I think Krollo appreciates it as well.
生年月日は？
あ？
生まれた日だよ。
Oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do
70
it.
年の9月8日だ。信長狭間。
Hazama.
何なんだよ。次は何が知りてんだ。
いや、もういい。
Oh my god.
それをこの紙に書いてくれ。 死の形を借りた 100% 当たる占い。
Go on, then.
予知能力だ。ノストラードの娘から盗んだ。
Here's a confirmation.
100%当たる占い？加わり損ねたムツキは一人で下月の影を追い続ける。この大切な暦が影だってのはひょっとして
ウボウのことだ。
来週おそらく5人死ぬな。誰だその5人って。
Ooh,
知
okay.
らねえよ。
I kind of have to reel that thought back in.
雲の手足が半分になってることくらいだ。
雲ってのは俺たちか。
ああ、手足や団員のことだろうから半分ってことは6本。ウボウのほかあと5人ってことだろ。
俺の占いにも同じように出ていた。
And that's why he wants to leave, does he?
あなたは仲間と墓標に血を添える。下月が寂しくないようにと。黒い商品ばかりの死の場であなたは長い眠りを強いられる。
Whoa.
何よりも孤独を恐れなさい。二人きりほど怖いものはないのだから。来週死ぬのは私です。
マジか。
うん。だって2週目までしか占いないも
Oh
ん。
god. She's so casual about it too.
パクノダとシャルナークも死ぬよ。
へえ。
なんでパクノだとシャルナークってわかる？
これね。
She was able to.
暦の月が団員の番号を表してるみたい。下月は11月。
Right.
ウボウの団員番号ね。
菊が菊月9月で、葉が葉月8月、 枯れるが水無月、つまり
Oh
6月
god.
それぞれ暗示している。
思い出した。目が赤くなる連中ね。
生き残りがいたということか。
Pakunara, step in.
そいつも死ぬってことか。
わからんぜ。
つまりこのまま鎖野郎とやり合うと被害が大きいってこと。戦力半減だ。俺や信長の能力はいくらでも代わりが利くけど、雫とパクノダはレアなんだ。値段としては失うわけにはいかない。
Ha. How about that?
今日は第1週目の土曜日。今日中に俺たちのホームに戻れば、
Home.
来週鎖野郎に会うことはまずないだろう。悪い予言を回避するチャンスが与えられているところが
You can.
この予知能力の最大の利点だ。俺たちがこの地
And there's the unknown.
鎖野郎とやり合わなければ、逆に 100% この予言は成就しない。雫、バク、シャルは主に情報処理部隊。
Shall. I like that.
俺たち全身の行動を補佐する
That's a
今
great
の生
shot.
命線だ。こいつらの盾になって守るのがお前の役目じゃない。
I love this approach by Krollo.
そうだ。
待ってよ。他の団員も占ってみたら、もしかしたら他にも危険回避の助言が見つかるかもしれないよ。
Krollo, you gonna take the bait?
だけど今ならクラピカがいる。奴らが地下に潜って力を蓄える前に目を摘んだ方がいい。今なら雲のアジトもわかる。動くなら早い方がいい。
I don't know about that, man.
奴らの頭が死んだ以上、私はゴンの言う通り同胞たちの目を取り戻すことに専念するよ。
マジかよ。
あ、
本当にいいのかよ。
クラピカ本人がそう決めたんだ。
Hold your horses now.
そうかからだ。
死体はフェイク。
Fake. Oh, so a text is okay. Yeah, just like that. They pull me back in.
死体って旅団のか。
ああ、雲の死体はフェイクだ。
Just like that.
確かに無限化系の能力者なら可能だ。事態は急変したぜ。どうする？俺たちは何でもするぜ。
Oh.
クラピカ、私よ。
Ha.
戦慄か。どうした？
コミュニティが旅団の残党狩りを断念したわ。
何？
There you
奴ら
go.
が流星街の出身だってことが分かったの。重労党が直々に終戦命令を下したらしいわ。懸賞金もすべて白紙に
The Tendons.
流星街出身。
Killua knows about this, right?
なるほど。社会的には存在しないとされてる連中が住む町さ。公式には無人ってことになっているが、 実際には1000万人近い人間がいると言われている。
New arrangement.
何を捨てても許される場所でな。
Anything.
ゴミはもちろん、
Oh.
武器も人も。そして何を捨てても、あそこの住人はその全てを受け入れる。そんな異質な町流星街で生まれ育った連中の絆は、他人より細く、家族より強いと聞く。
Oh, they all got one. Go on, Hisoka. Hit me.
赤目の客があなたの店を訪れ、
Okay.
半
Clear
身は
enough.
天使で半身は死神。好きたちの秘密を売るといいだろう。下月のそれが特に喜ばれるはずだ。
That's happened.
普段の客の仲介で逆十字の男と二人きりになれるだろう。偽りのうずきは暦から剥がされ、
Ah, is that
これ
so?
で残りは6枚となる。
見せて。
やめた方がいい。見たら驚くよ。
いいから見せて。
はいはい。
Did he?
ちょっとみんなも見て。
Oh boy. Okay.
赤目の客が訪れて
月たちの秘密を。
好きたちって俺たちのことだ。
All right, Hisoka.
そうか、これは
Oh boy.
店
Yeah.
を。
Nobunaga's about to come at you. Full tilt.
赤目の客があなたの店を訪れて、あなたに物々交換を持ちかける。客は掟の剣をあなたに差し出して、月たちの秘密をさらっていくだろう。狩宿から出てはいけない。あなたもその足の一本なのだから。
Look how calm he is about it.
てめえ撃ったのか。
Careful, Nobunaga. Ooh.
無謀。
Oh no, come on. Ugh.
白野田の手に渡ると同時に内容が変わった
Yeah.
密かの占い、それが意味するものとは一体。
Okay, look at that. Our favorite Chaos Magician is essentially finally stepping into the limelight once again, into the spotlight, after kind of being, I don't know, benched or kind of being, put to the side for a bit, right? And again, it's also by design as well, because, he has to kind of hang back as, an active member of the Phantom Troupe, right? Who's been summoned. So yeah, he's been kind of hanging back. He's been just kind of taking it all in. He's been taking part in some of these, assignments or missions, mini missions that they've had here in Yorknew City. And essentially as a whole, or at the most basic level, it's pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple. He simply cannot have Crollo leave here. He can't. He just can't, because if you go back a few episodes, episode maybe 46, 45, might have been 45. 45. It's the thumbnail of Melody and Kurapika looking down on Uvogin. I mean, it's a damn cool thumbnail if I do say so myself. But yeah, in that one, that meeting that happens between Kurapika and Hisoka, he tells Kurapika that, once a job is done, once a gig is done, the man vanishes. And the man being Crollo, the leader, right? And once he's gone, he's gone. You're not finding him. He finds you, right? Or word gets to you about a gathering of heroes, if you will, right? So he knows he cannot allow this, because again, at the end of the day, who knows how long it's going to be before the next time he kind of gets this chance, right? Again, they established it can be years. It can be years before the Phantom Troupe, usually comes together as one whole spider. So yeah, he's not letting them leave. He's not letting, sure, the plan requires essentially most of them to stay. But the thing is, the key component is Crollo, the head of the spider. He has to stay. He must stay. But the thing is, if he's staying, that immediately means that all of them are staying, right? So as of this point, it's pretty simple. From Hisoka's perspective, it's simple, isn't it? Gotta make the boss stay. I mean, it's essentially a masterstroke by Hisoka, right? And the thing is, this time, actually texting, or, letting Kurapika know that indeed those are fakes and, they're still alive. This time it has nothing to do with the fact that, he wants to give him, I don't know, some semblance of hope or anything. Maybe there's a bit of that in there, because in the last episode, he couldn't get through to Kurapika. And I think, I'm forgetting the exact line of dialogue, but, he couldn't get through. And then he said, oh, it's too bad. Comfort. I think, he said something about comfort. I was hoping to provide a bit of comfort. Something along those lines, right? Something. There, it's like, okay, yeah, I see that, because that was before he found out that Crollo is deciding, or he's made the decision to leave. But now it's a bit different. Now, Kurapika, or letting Kurapika know about this, is all part of the plan as well, right? Because he needs Kurapika. He needs Kurapika to engage. He needs Kurapika to continue on that path, to come after them, right? To continue going after the Phantom Troupe. I think one of the major components of this, and there's a few of them actually, to be honest, and I'm speaking of his fake fortune at this point, one that he's so masterfully able to craft. I'm surely this has got to be his texture surprise at play, right? But oh my God, it's so incredibly impressive how quickly he managed that, right? But the thing is, it's certainly presented in a manner that makes it seem like, okay, he actually pulled it off at a moment's notice, and he does, that's certainly a thing. But the fact that he's the one who steps in, right? Once everything is kind of, checking out, and I almost said Uvogin, as Nobunaga is, finally kind of stepping down, right? He's kind of calmed down now. He's not as heated anymore. He actually understood everything. It took a bit of explaining. It took a bit of, these fortunes for a few of the members. And then, of course, a reminder from the boss of his responsibilities, his role in the Phantom Troupe that he took on, right? Voluntarily, right? And that in itself is so, I don't know, it's one of the things this episode does really quite effectively, really showcase the dynamics of the Phantom Troupe, or the members of the Phantom Troupe, right? And this idea of them being the shields, Uvogin and Nobunaga. But more so than that, agreeing to take that spot, knowing that, essentially you are expected to die, right? If need be, if it comes to that, to protect some of these other members. And to me, that really kind of speaks to the dynamics of the Phantom Troupe as a family even, right? And how protective they can be of each other. And that understanding that, okay, even if some of the members might not be, that close, there is this respect and understanding and this desire even to, protect others. You have Shalnark, right? Who knows he's replaceable. And he tells Nobunaga as much as well. And, Nobunaga knows this as well. He understands his role in the Phantom Troupe and the things he brings to the table. But, that specific reminder from Shalnark about, the abilities, the really unique and rare abilities of Shizuku, of Pakunara, the irreplaceable members, staying here and pursuing the chain user, the killer of Uvogin. It's just too incredibly risky at this point. There's just too much to lose, too much at stake at this point, now that they know about the fortunes and all of that. And, this is coming from Shalnark, right? Who did seem to have quite a close friendship with Uvogin as well, right? He was actually really quite annoyed or, really upset with himself for not accompanying Uvogin, right? And they made it really clear that he had concern, a lot of concern, as Uvo departed. And ultimately, it actually did end up being the last time he saw him. And the scene really, really presented it in that manner. That's the reason I said that looks like a look of someone who thinks they might be seeing their friend for the last time. But, beyond the notion or idea of protecting abilities, such as, Shizuku's and Pakunara's, I firmly believe that Shalnark is also being really quite protected. But of course, there's a lot to get into in terms of the dynamics, and I'll get to that whole section. But right now, the focus simply has to be Hisoka. Like I said, it's a masterstroke. One text and then implementing his texture surprise at a moment's notice, in a split moment, it just changed everything. He was able to pivot. He was able to change the direction of how things are about to play out. Now, of course, it remains to be seen if he is truly successful. Also, my point about Hisoka doing this at a moment's notice, that still stands. But I think it is by design, right? He does need someone to approach him. I mean, it was pretty. I guess it's a good assumption that someone is going to approach him and ask for his fortune. He was hoping for it, and it happened. It happens to be Pakunara who came up to him. And he's hoping for that because he needs them. He needs, first of all, someone to read it, and then, of course, bring it to everyone else's attention. That right there now, kind of creates this new problem, new issue that they kind of need to spend a lot of time on. But all of that being said, Hisoka is about to get grilled, right? That's one of the reasons the setup here, the cliffhanger moment here is so damn exciting because, everything that's about to play out, from that point on is just going to be so gripping, I think, right? All the elements are there. All the ingredients are there for a really tense exchange that's about to happen now, because his made-up fortune is going to be put under a magnifying glass, essentially, right? It's going to be looked at and dissected, right? It's really going to be, picked apart, essentially. So, the interpretation of his, made-up fortune, and of course, the thing is, even though it is made up, it still essentially passes off as something that, easily could have come out of that ability. Or the made up stuff specifically, it sounds like it could be, it could be the real deal, right? So he certainly leaves a few of the lines in there from his actual fortune. But of course, he sprinkles in a few lies to kind of deviate, right? To just kind of change the direction of it. Though, of course, I'm going to take a swing at it as well. And not just for Hisoka's, for all of theirs. But let's have a look at the original, right? Again, all the originals are essentially presented in the blue spotlight, but the one that was kind of edited or, enhanced, you see that, Hisoka is presented under the red spotlight, right? That's the fake one. I mean, they made it really quite clear. You've got that, the spotlight itself. You've got the actual, the fortune itself just being different, the verses of them. And then you even have the narrator coming in right at the end to confirm, indeed, it has been switched. It's been changed, right? And then, he posed a question. But going back to my point about Hisoka being grilled, there's already a lot of distrust for Hisoka, right? You've got people like Machi, and Machi's known to have really, really good instincts as well, right? So, that is going to play a part, and, beyond Machi, there's a few others that are not the biggest fans of Hisoka. No one really seems to be, or truly be, a friend to Hisoka. And the thing is, I can already kind of feel the possible tension that might be at play in the next episode, right? Because it could become dangerous, or it could become an explosive situation at a moment's notice, right? Because listen, they've got people like Pakunara, right, who can read people's memories. They can easily just do that. They can decide, or Chrollo can decide, or some of the members might put the idea out there. Okay, let's see. Because again, I'll get into the specifics of his fortunes and even the made up parts of it. But there's some damning stuff in there, especially in the original, right? So they could easily just get Pakunara to really, really confirm it, look into his memories and all that. But of course, even if that is the case, Hisoka's never going to actually allow it, right? And then that could become explosive. But also, as I am on the topic of Pakunara, okay, now I'm beginning to think that maybe I'm mixing something up here. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I kind of read it wrong, because she's not, it's been 2 episodes now, essentially. And certainly in this episode, she had a few chances to kind of, bring up the Nostrada bodyguard, the one that they didn't come across online, right? The one that did have his chains out, the one that comes up to pick up the Scarlet Eyes. Yeah, she didn't bring him up at all. Kurapika, that is, of course, the chain user. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to, I mean, it's not a case of her choosing not to bring him up. It just appears to be a case of, okay, that's just not the case. She doesn't seem to actually understand, or she didn't actually understand or put it together that this is the person that they're looking for, the chain user. So I'm kind of scratching my head on that as of this point, because in this episode, Pakunara is the one who actually brings up the clan that had the Scarlet Eyes, right? And this is around the time they're kind of trying to speculate about the Scarlet Eyes component of the fortunes, right? And then of course I believe it is Pakunara who comes in and brings up the clan that they targeted. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe I'm kind of missing something here, but to me it felt like, okay, Kurapika is standing right in front of Pakunara. But I kind of want to shift the focus once again to the text that he fires off to Kurapika. It's crazy. It's just crazy how that one text just completely shifted the dynamic, completely just reeled Kurapika back into that dark place, back on that path that he looked like he was just ready to leave behind him, that self-destructive path that he was ready to move on from, because someone like Gon, right, that smiling face, that friendly face, the face of a friend, you see that Kurapika was immediately able to kind of gain a bit of perspective, or Gon was also able to provide a bit of perspective, give him, that sense of direction once again, after how it all ended in the last episode, right? How defeated he was, how hollow he was, how empty he was feeling at that moment, directionless and all of that. But now, all of a sudden, in the company of a friendly face, in the company of a friend, things looked up almost immediately, right? He cracked that smile, just being in their presence, right? It's as expected. It did something so incredible for Kurapika. He needed this. He truly needed to be around friendly faces, around friends, friends he can confide in, and he certainly confides in them. Sure, Killua was really quite, on edge, and quite not angry, but concerned that, Kurapika shared something like that, right? But he needed that. He needed to confide. And the thing is, Gon and Kurapika do have a really special connection as well. There's a lot of different dynamics at play between the four of them. Be it Gon and Killua, be it Kurapika and Leorio, be it Leorio and Gon, be it Gon and Kurapika, right? They've had a few moments of connection, deep connection, throughout the early stages of the anime, the exam arc, up in the aircraft, right? Moments of understanding for each other. So yeah, Gon and Kurapika do have this special bond. And I think for Kurapika, it meant quite a bit to hear this from Gon specifically as well, right? Because he does respect Gon, right? Yes, Gon might be a little bit inexperienced in certain elements of life, but there is a certain, component or certain aspect of Gon's personality, inherently, essentially, that is something special. And Kurapika recognizes that. Even Killua and Leorio understand that. But yeah, going back to the text, and him essentially getting pulled right back in. I love dropping that line, of course. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Some actually might know it just from The Sopranos, but of course, it originated from The Godfather. But yeah, of course, there's that iconic moment in The Sopranos as well, right? I mean, it's one of my favorite scenes from The Sopranos. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's insane. The mindfuck, the absolute mindfuck that Kurapika has experienced over the past 24 hours. No one should experience that. And even before the text comes in, there's a big moment as you've got Gon and Killua on opposing sides of, I don't know, of the next move, the potential next move. Because Killua is actually all in on kind of going after the Troupe, immediately, kind of hitting them right now, kind of blindsiding them. And it's a little bit surprising that Killua is so dead set on this, given the fact that he's a smart little dude. He understands that the Phantom Troupe is no joke, right? And there's that belief that's been built in, that's been instilled in him, that you do not go after someone you cannot defeat or kind of stand toe to toe with, right? But again, things have shifted a bit. Now they do have Kurapika as well. But of course, another component of this is, the prize money, the bounty that's been placed on the Phantom Troupe. So, Killua still is kind of thinking about that aspect of it, making the money for a copy of Greed Island. But that being said, there's yet another twist at play as well, because he gets to hear, and you see his reaction to this as well, that the bounty money, the prize, has been rescinded, right? And he looks at Gon. I mean, they both look at each other. So that's a really compelling and kind of realistic possibility that's been snuffed out almost immediately, right? Getting the bounty money. And by realistic, I mean, it's really the only option that can bring in that kind of money. It's not realistic in the sense that, they can actually take out a couple of the members and, trade in for the bounty money. But is that going to do anything for Killua? Is that actually going to shift his perspective now that there is no bounty? But Gon was the other side of it, right? He firmly believes that, Kurapika has, now he has the chance to focus firmly on his main task, right? And again, that's really quite a crucial reminder to Kurapika as well. Perhaps about the things that really truly matter, rather than, this dark path, this self-destructive path he was on. But Kurapika takes a few moments to himself once again to think it out. And he maintains, no, the best idea now and the best thing to do now is to, listen to Gon and direct all of his attention towards the real task at hand, the real goal at hand, his true goal. But again, that text just changed everything. But let's get into Hisoka's fortunes, both of them, the one that's presented in the blue light and the one that's presented in the red light, right? His own take or his own spin on the fortune. So I've got it in front of me right here, and I've made note of all of the fortunes, be it Nobunaga, Shizuku, and Hisoka as well, right? There's a lot of similarities, of course, especially in terms of the things that have already happened, and some of the terminology that's kind of being used. But, there's a few specific verses that are different for all of them, in terms of the ones I've seen. Nobunaga, Hisoka, Shizuku, and then of course, Krollos as well. You can kind of refer back to that for a few things here. But first of all, let's look at Hisoka's. A red-eyed customer will visit your shop, right? Of course, red-eyed customer being Kurapika, half angel, half deathbringer. How about that? But the next part of it, you would do well to sell the calendar secrets, right? So this part of it has already happened. Even the next part, he'll be especially pleased to learn the 11th moon's secrets, right? So that whole phase already happened. But the next bit is the really crucial component of this, right? And it's really quite exciting as well, both from, our perspective as the audience and from Hisoka's perspective as well. It specifies that the customer, once again, Kurapika, is going to return on a hot day, leaving you alone with a man, bearing St. Peter's cross. Of course, that's Krollo. So that paints quite the picture, doesn't it? Especially given the fact that, Neon's ability, the fortunes, the prophecies are essentially 100% accurate, right? Once again, reiterated by Krollo himself. But of course, let's not forget that just because they're 100% accurate doesn't mean that things can't be changed, because you're not supposed to know these things, your fortunes or prophecies or the future itself. Essentially, naturally a person's not supposed to know these things, but once you know, you can kind of pivot, right? You can take the steps to kind of dodge or kind of, avoid essentially some of these, prophecies, some of these unfortunate things that might come up, right? That's why they even show us a scene of some of these mafia community members kind of clutching onto their fortunes, really dissecting it, really kind of latching onto it and making sure that, okay, as long as I'm proactive about avoiding certain things, because even in the fortunes themselves, there is this built-in notion of a warning, even a heads up. But yeah, that specific line is essentially alluding to or implying that Kurapika might actually get Chrollo, right? And not only that Kurapika is going to be the one to leave Chrollo with Hisoka, right? That's kind of insane. Just a thought of that, right? But that's how it sounds like. And then of course within that, there's another key component, leaving you alone. That's the key here. Once again, going back to episode 45, as Hisoka mentioned, right? He's never alone. Never. There's always a minimum of at least 2 Phantom Troupe members accompanying him. So to potentially get Chrollo alone, then you truly have a chance to fight him, to finally engage. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. If that is the case, you have to kind of look at how exactly could Kurapika actually, bring Chrollo in? How could he actually leave Chrollo alone with Hisoka? Like, how exactly is that going to play out, if it does play out as specified here? I mean, of course, Chrollo's not going to just, accompany Kurapika and go for a stroll and go meet Hisoka, right? And be left alone. No, of course not. So you have to start thinking about some of the possibilities here, right? I mean, goddamn, if you really think about it, the implication here is that he might possibly get him into chain jail. That's the only way he's going to get Chrollo under control. But then, of course, you have to go a bit further back then, right? If that is the case, if he does somehow manage to, actually get him into chain jail, how is it going to reach that point? How exactly are things going to play out so that could happen, right? So, of course, it's a lot of exciting speculation at the moment, a lot of exciting thoughts that are just kind of playing out in my mind at the moment. Just, kind of based on some of the things that are given to us here. Okay, so now let's get into the other one, the fake fortune. So this one, or at least some of the specific lines in this one, essentially presented in a manner that is favorable, towards Hisoka. It kind of presents it in a light that suggests that, okay, maybe, Hisoka didn't have that much of a choice, right? Maybe Hisoka was duped, or maybe Hisoka was put into a corner, in a tricky situation, rather. So he incorporates this line about the red-eyed customer seeking to make a trade, right? Seeking to make a trade. So essentially presenting it as the opposite, right? Rather than him being the one who actually approached Kurapika, it's presenting it as Kurapika, the chain user approaching him to cut a deal. But the next bit, the customer will use the sword of law upon you, right? Taking the calendar's secrets with him. So see there, going from a potential trade, seeking a trade, it's now presented as, okay, it was just it wasn't a give and take. And Hisoka is so damn good, isn't he? Because the sword of law can easily just kind of sound like, or pass off as, okay, yeah, this sounds like one of the abilities that could be out there. A really, a possible ability as well. So, that in itself, putting that in there, it's not that he just came up with a few random things on the spot, right? He actually put in things that can drive the direction of the Phantom Troupe in the upcoming hours or so, right? So that's why I keep calling it a masterstroke. On the spot, he was able to incorporate these kind of verses in there. But yeah, continuing on, the 11-legged spider grows homesick, right? And loses 5 more legs. So essentially the implication there is that, by returning home, they are going to essentially lose a few of these members. So he's really quite clever because he's incorporating or making up essentially things that are conflicting or opposing to some of the other things, some of the other verses in the fortunes. And then, of course, the last bit plays into that aspect as well, doesn't it, right? Do not leave your temporary shelter, right? That is key. That is so key. So essentially, it's the opposite of a departure, imminent departure, immediate departure, right? His is presenting it as, okay, no. You've got to stay put. But of course, the major challenge here is to get the boss, to get Chrollo to agree to stay or to come to the choice, right? Like I said in the beginning, that's the whole idea, right? That's at the most simple level. The whole point is to stall the departure, to get Chrollo to stay. And of course, you've got Nobunaga, who's really quite heated, right? Because now there's this notion of, oh, okay, so there is this possibility of Uvogin being betrayed, right? But again, the way Hisoka's presenting it, it's not as clear cut as that, is it? That Hisoka just gave it up, right? By choice and all of that. So let's see how all of that kind of plays out. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's get into Nobunaga's fortune. Okay, so the calendar loses a precious component, right? The remaining months gather to mourn. This is a reoccurring verse that's present in Shizuku's, in Chrollo's, of course, originally. The first moon. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that number 1 is Nobunaga in this case, and not Chrollo. But yeah, the first moon, having missed the opportunity, continues to pursue the first moon. Sorry, not the first moon. The 11th moon alone, right? Of course, 11th moon being Uvogin. That's pretty clear cut from a few episodes ago. So yeah. I actually get numbers for a few of them, right? So in this case, it appears to be Nobunaga, number 1, and then of course I get 3 more a little bit later on. And I'll get into that as I get into Shizuku's fortune, and then the things that she interprets and the things that Chrollo is able to kind of interpret as well. Also, before I go any further, that thought I had about the fake death of the members of the Phantom Troupe, including Chrollo himself, I was kind of using or speculating that setup as, okay, this might be Chrollo actually trying to meet the conditions of the fortune, the prophecy that he was given. Because look at this, half of the Phantom Troupe has now died, perished. So maybe that is kind of fulfilling some of the verses of the fortune. But no. Again, I have to remember, or I was reminded that indeed these are things that are going to happen down the line, right? Later in the month, or the next week rather. But yeah, let's keep it moving. Let's get to Shizuku's fortune, the new bits. You join your ally as an offering, right? To keep him from being lonely. The thing is, Nobunaga kind of even mentioned something like that, right? Oh, Uvogin's going to be lonely if they move on now and don't send the chain user to him, right? So here in this one, in Shizuku's fortune, it's straight up just saying, yeah, you're going to be joining your ally, right? And of course, both Shizuku and Chrollo essentially understand that, yeah, Shizuku is on the chopping block, right? And her fortune, or a verse in her fortune, is alluding to this as well. Okay, next up, you will find eternal rest in a room filled with black merchandise, right? And here, I kind of brought this up a little bit earlier, in terms of these moments of warnings built in into the fortunes, essentially. Beware solitude above all. You have the most to fear when you are alone with another. So essentially, it's straight up telling her to not be caught alone, right? Do not be separated. Do not be caught alone. But yeah, Shizuku, living up to her aloof nature, just really casually drops it. Yeah. Like I thought, like I figured, I am meant to die. I am going to die next week because I only got 2 verses, right? And then she goes on to claim that indeed, I'm going to die alongside Pakunara and Shalnark, right? And that's the one that Chrollo comes in on as well to confirm, because of the cycle of that specific plant. Sorry, not plant, the flower. The flower itself is meant to represent the month of September, right? That is number 9. And that ends up being Pakunara, right? It blooms in August. That's 8. That is Shizuku. And it withers in June. That is number 7. And that is Shalnark. So I learned that 7, 8, and 9 are Pakunara, Shizuku, and Shalnark. And I also learned that essentially number 1 is Nobunaga, But, you know, another really exciting component of this, and, you know, Crollo's choice and, you know, this idea of imminent death of, you know, some of the members of the Phantom Troupe, it's beginning to feel like, especially, you know, especially that little, I don't know, preview, that little hint to a younger Crollo from the looks of it, right? I mean, not from the looks of it, but more so in the way it's presented, in the way, you know, he's kind of thinking about that moment specifically, dreaming about that moment specifically, right before he comes to the decision to, you know, walk away, to make that choice for his comrades, right? To me, it's beginning to feel like, okay, now, you know, I'm probably about to get the backstory, you know, the Phantom Troupe backstory, you know, their time in Meteor City, all of that, right? And it feels like, yeah, you know, like I said, it kind of feels like this is the perfect time for it. So I'm excited about that possibility as well in the upcoming episodes. But, you know, this little glimpse I get here is interesting already. But yeah, the flashback itself and kind of doubling as a moment from Crollo's life that he is thinking about at that moment. But yeah, you know, it appears to be a young Crollo and a few of his friends making the most of their situation. I mean, it's the only situation they've ever had. It's their situation. It's their life, the only life that they've had, right? And they're making the most of it, right? They're having a blast out there. You know, it essentially kind of reminds me of the favelas of Brazil, that type of upbringing, that type of setting that creates diamonds, right? It's a rough place to grow up in, right? Harsh, you know, challenging, unforgiving, but it does create resilience. It creates these types of people, the people that are a part of the Phantom Troupe. And of course, many others that come out of there, right? You know, they told us, or Canaria specifically told us a long time ago that, you know, members of the Phantom Troupe are known to come out of Meteor City, and also people in the Mafia community, or people from the Mafia community are known to come out of Meteor City, right? And then, of course, you know, you get a bit more exposition a little bit later on through, not Crollo, through Leorio specifically. And I felt that that was really quite fitting that someone like Leorio is the one who presents this information. But yeah, that kind of harsh upbringing or, you know, environment, it really kind of instills a certain resilience, right? A certain mindset, a certain perspective, and, you know, a certain past, of course, a certain reason. Yeah, you know, a certain determination. So, you know, this potential backstory, I am so excited about this, so damn excited about this. And, you know, a thing that was really highlighted, really brought to our attention is this cassette tape. Interesting. Yeah, it just feels so odd, right? I mean, I'm assuming they've seen, or Crollo, you know, it is presented as Crollo, right? I'm assuming it's something special, something unique to Crollo, right? You know, it's a fantastic shot, of course. Crollo kind of going towards the top of the pileup, the trash pileup, right? And then, of course, he wakes up, the eyes open up to the current situation. And, you know, to me, the thing that was so important and the thing that stood out to me here is him just scanning and looking at the members of the Phantom Troupe, looking at the limbs of the spider, looking at people that are friends, people that are essentially or potentially family. But let's stick to Meteor City, right? And some of the players that are a part of that. So Melody's call is an interesting one as well, because, you know, she gives us, the audience, a few updates, and of course, you know, Kurapika as well. And then, of course, Kurapika's friends. The community has called off the hunt for the remaining Phantom Troupe members. And then she also specifies that the 10 Dons gave the order directly, right? Now, of course, us, the audience, knows the 10 Dons are no more. So, of course, it's got to be through Illumi. And, you know, the thing is, it easily could have been one of the, I don't know, directions from Crollo for Illumi, right? Once, or, part of the gig, essentially, part of him hiring Illumi, that you've got to do this as well. Because surely they haven't found replacements for all 10, Dons already, right? It's just exceedingly unlikely. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this is Illumi's doing. But there's a bit of exposition through Leorio about Meteor City, a city populated by people who, as far as society is concerned, just do not exist, right? These are faceless people. And the crazy thing is, he said something like 10 million people live there, right? But, officially it's unpopulated. And according to Leorio, or as far as he's heard, right, over the years, perhaps, that Meteor City residents share a bond thinner than that between strangers, right? But stronger than that between family. That is, that certainly sounds like the type of thing you develop in a place such as that. And essentially sounds like quite the effective description for a group, a clan, such as the Phantom Troupe. But according to Kurapika, the Troupe destroyed this normally intimate relationship between the Mafia and Meteor City. So again, there's a really fantastic backstory there, isn't there? And it's been hinting at it, right? And, I've kind of speculated about the motives of the Phantom Troupe, of Crollo specifically, right? In relation to the Mafia community and his plans for the Mafia community. And this gives us a bit more on that front. In terms of how the Mafia community treats that place, how it exploits these faceless people, faceless bodies, essentially, right? Again, they mentioned that it's essentially perfect for committing crimes, right? Recruiting people from there specifically. But also there is a possibility here that it could be something even more personal than that, as far as, the Phantom Troupe and Crollo are concerned. So it's great to get a bit more on, the Meteor City aspect of it, or, at least a backstory aspect of it. But it feels like it's about to get into it proper. But it was great to see all of them back together. It's a beautiful moment, actually, to see them all together. There's that one moment as it kind of focuses on each one of them, right? Their smiley faces, and then it gives us that wide shot of all of them. And of course, Gon's the one who really, really enjoys this. He's really, really happy about this, that we're finally back together. And of course, it's a lovely opening as well. Something that's able to immediately change Kurapika's mood, right? Bring that smile, that legitimate smile to his face, getting to see Gon and Killua just be Gon and Killua, right? To see their goofy friendship. To see them kind of, goof around, have fun. It is a reminder to Kurapika that there is more to life. He's got friends. He's got other people in his life that he does care for. But I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or timer-based full length, or perhaps even full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. If you are interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 55. Until then, take it easy.